Thank you. Hope you had a great lunch, and that you guys that are on virtual had a great one-on-one meetings. Now we're gonna continue, and I have the pleasure to introduce the next session, which is gonna be presented initially by Luis Solis, Sales Director East at Sun Media. Now they want to show us an additional video, which we're gonna show now, and then Luis is going to join us.
Hello. Okay, guys, this is my first time in 12 years, so please be nice. First and foremost, I want to thank you. I'm very honored and have the privilege to see you all, my industria. I've been here for 20 years, so very happy to talk to you. The first thing I want to say is that at Sun Media, we believe that you earned relevance. You don't gain it just like that. You have to understand the consumer, understand what touches, what moves them, what inspires them. That is why we're here. Our job is here to solve. Oh, wait, hold on. Sorry, I know we like music, but we're here to solve for relevance with culture, technology, and creativity. So first, let me introduce you to my new family, Sun Media. We are a vertically integrated ad tech platform coming from Spain, with operations in LATAM and Europe. Our mission in the US is to help brands be authentic to Latinos by having a culture-first approach paired with technology and creativity. So let's talk about the importance of cultural relevance. If I may ask, by raising hands, how many of you would agree with me that culturally relevant ads work? Okay, thank you. There's some non-believers here, but I would say I would agree with that. And I would say that the SIM would agree with all of you too. So the Cultural Insights Impact Measured actually did a survey in 2022 across 10,000 people, different segments, all different segments, so not just Hispanic. And what they found out was that this is actually 2.7 times more effective than any other ads, 3.8 times more likely to enhance brand perception. And for those consumers who see those ads for the first time, they're more likely to buy the product. So this tells us that our work actually works. But that same study found that, oh man, 60% of those consumers still see a stereotypical representation in advertising. So what does that say? Well, as a good Latino, I would say that if ads were food and consumers want culture, then it's a matter of sazon, right? Would you agree or disagree with me? There you go. So, and what do Latinos know? What do we know, guys? And I'm gonna say it because we're in the platform. What do we know? And Bad Bunny's gonna say it for me. He's not saying it. Sound. Everyone wants to be Latino. Pero le falta sazon. Right? Right? He says it, I say it, we all believe it, right? Or am I lying? Am I saying something wrong? No, right? What I want you to know, guys, is that at Sun Media, we know Latinos love the Big Mac. Oh, yes, we do. But we also like in our craving our sandwiches, depending on which dialect your hunger's on. By the way, this is supposed to be one by one. This is not supposed to be all straight, but I'm just going with it. It can be tortas or chimis, right? I love chimis, and don't get me started. The Venezuelan pepitos have arrived already, so the footlong is gonna be disrupted. And with that, I have to say, guys, that our foundation is a culture-first approach. What we do is insight-driven first. That is the foundation of our cultura. So with that being said, I'm going to introduce and invite here Stephen Baez, who is the EVP of Multicultural Investment and Innovation at Publicis Media.
Hello. Thank you. Thank you for having me. So excited to be here.
Thank you, Stephen. Hold on, I think I have my questions here too.
Awesome. Now we can make them up.
All right. Well, let's do this. Time of truth. Okay. So, as I presented earlier, culturally relevant ads are extremely effective. Yet 60% of the audience who did the 2022 SIM survey expressed that they still see a stereotypical representation in ads. Why do you think that is? And what can we do to solve this challenge?
I think it was an interesting point that was made earlier today in terms of why businesses aren't taking advantage of the Hispanic consumer. And a lot of times it's because they don't have the representation within their companies, right? That was talked about earlier, which is a perfect opportunity to really lean in on that. And if you don't have the right team in place and you don't have the right support from either an agency perspective or the right people in the room, you're not going to get the right product. I do think there's another situation that also lends itself is sometimes perfection equals paralysis, where if they don't have every part of the journey right, they're not going to be able to they don't believe that they have the right to approach the opportunity. So I think it's a combination of things. I do believe that there's been a tremendous amount of momentum over the past couple of years, in terms of marketers starting to really realize what the opportunity is, which in hand will start to make them realize that this is even more critically important. I do know that definitely from an opportunity perspective is ensuring that you provide the right KPIs to show brands that you're activating in the multicultural space when you do it one way versus the other way, how you can actually grow those statistics that you were showing, right? It'll definitely not only show up from these traditional statistics, it'll also show and even improving your KPIs, whether it's engagement or relevant or performance from a media perspective, but also in your return on ad spend. So it comes full circle, right?
Thank you. I agree with that. Second question. With AI enhancing many areas of the advertising industry, how do you see technology impacting the communication strategy?
So this is an interesting one, right? Because we were just talking about relevance and cultural relevance, right? AI is going to lend us a lot of opportunity to create more dynamic, creative, and optimization, right? But we can't lose that cultural relevance just to create more ads or be in more spaces. So it really has to be that marriage of what's that communication strategy, okay. How are you going to deliver it in a culturally relevant way, but how do you utilize technology to be able to be more effective, more rapid, create more content at a more efficient rate, right? So it's that delicate balance, right? It's the art and the science of it. You can't just have like from a back-end technology perspective, I think we all understand that we can continue to perform without AI. Right, like that's the amazing presentation that you showed in terms of the support that you're getting from an AI. That was the question that was asked as well. So you can't just try to lean so heavily into just efficiency and effectiveness without leveraging that cultural intelligence.
I completely agree with you. As a matter of fact, not too long ago, I think many of us saw what happened when they asked AI to describe a Latino. Did anybody see that? Yeah, and Ron, what was that? It was a brown person, right?
A sombrero, right?
Exactly. And here's the funny thing, because a machine with Sazón would have said that's a loaded question because Latinos are culture-based, not race-based, right? But it's what you put into the machine. So my next question. Third-party cookies will begin to phase out next year. What are agencies like Publicis Media doing to embrace this transition, and how do you feel it would impact the multicultural space?
Yeah, I think a quick plug for Publicis. We have Epsilon as part of our, as part of our portfolio. So that's a huge advantage from our perspective in terms of how we can utilize that specific data, and especially when leaning into diverse audiences. So it's just making sure that whatever type of data you're going to use doesn't have bias already built into it. Mm-hmm. So that if you are going to lean into data, and from a targeting perspective, how accurate is that data? Like, you have to, like, there's definitely biases in data that many times, and the majority of us in this room will understand that, but a regular hands-on keyboard person won't understand that, in my opinion, right? This is so it's just making sure that you have that training in place to understand where these gaps are, and really be able to develop a solution for, we're all, the majority of us are all in big holding companies that we're not going to be able to control everything, but how do we build these frameworks and these tools to really be able to drive this? It really is, everyone wants to do it in the right way, right? I just think that the awareness and education and understanding, that's where we really need to push from an industry perspective. So,
got it. Thank you. Next question. So I recently just interviewed Ingrid Otero Smart, President and CEO of Casanova Macan, and I shared with her that I truly believe that contextual targeting is actually the bridge that creates synergy between planning and creative, right? Contextual targeting can give you the right place with the right messaging at the right time. I remember in my days in print, and that was heaven when you do a high impact unit, you knew exactly where you're running opposite. I truly believe that it's that bridge. She agreed with me in that sense, coming from a creative standpoint. Would love to understand what you think about that technology and how it can help the relationship between creative and planning, and especially multicultural.
I don't agree with you in English. No, I'm just kidding. That was a joke. I agree 100%.
You almost gave me a heart attack.
I know. I was like ready for it. I'm like, he's gonna drop. Let's do it.
Hey, I'm standing by what I say, though, publicly. I do stand by what I say.
And I support what you said, and what Ingrid said as well. It was just a joke, right? It's after lunch. Everybody's like, them. So let's
Thank you, Steve. We need sazón. We need sazón. Otherwise, estamos dormidos aquí.
I even forgot the question.
Okay, so how?
No, I just kidding. Another joke. Open mic.
Damn, I'm rusty.
Yeah, 12 years, bro. Se nota.
Marcos, we need to change this. We need to change this.
I agree, and if I don't know, I don't want to age myself, but we've been, bro, de verdad que sí.
Nelson, I see you in the back.
Yeah. The heckler, always, you always have one heckler.
I see the beer.
Definitely, contextual was really, if you really start to think about multicultural advertising in a digital space, we were doing contextual before contextual was a thing. Right before it came over to general market, that was the way that we had scale, because we had to depend on endemic, and then we had to depend on how can we scale that through cultural relevance, right? And content, right? Contextual relevance. I think what's super interesting is how you guys are taking it a step further from a Sun Media perspective, and further defining, right? Like accelerating what that contextual targeting looks. So that's great, and I think that's where the future is. As we continue to see more cookie deprecation, as we start to continue to see more privacy laws, it is critical that we start to think about how targeting is defined, and how we actually, and again, the application of it, right? Because we could talk about it, but if the application isn't there, then it's nothing. So
I agree with that. Thank you. Another question. What do you look in a culturally endemic partner?
Yeah, I think content's key. We've talked about it a lot right now, right? For the past, 2 or 3 minutes. It's been, it's critical. Authenticity is critical, right? Not only from a communication perspective, but also from where you're placing it, right? Agreed. So if that authenticity is not there, it's like media and creative need to go hand in hand, because if we can get media at this point we've gotten really good from a targeting perspective and be able to be where the consumer is at whatever time the consumer wants. But if that communication strategy is not aligned with our placement strategy, then what is the true effectiveness of it?
Correct.
So I think that that's where, from a culturally endemic partner perspective, it's how are we validating that authenticity of the content that's being placed, and then also from our communication perspective. So
Thank you. Look, all I can say, Steven, is thank you so much for giving us your valuable time. I mean, if anybody knows how hard it is to get this man, I mean, I'm getting ready.
Liar.
You see?
Liar.
I'm still rusty,
Don't talk to
guys.
me all the time.
I'm still rusty. Well, with that said, you know, we talked about cultura. So now we're here to talk about cultura, technology, and creativity. And those are our superpowers. So I am Latino, I talk a lot, I use my hands, and if you guys want me to explain technology, it's gonna take a long time. So we're gonna do a video so we can quickly take a look at it and you guys can enjoy what we have.
Thank you.
Cultura Latina is diverse and fascinating. It has universal characteristics with unique particularities. XT.ai is our unique contextual technology inspired by Cultura Latina. It can process 2 million URLs per day. In less than 90 minutes, it segments all new content that is published. XT.ai scans each piece, extracting entities and analyzes how they relate to each other. Each article is assigned a content category from a pool of 698 predefined options, linking it to the IAB Content Taxonomy 2.2 standard. XT.ai creates the perfect ecosystem, a secure and tailored contextual territory to promote your product or service. Not only do we have the contextual technology, we offer unique content to make your brand and messages stand out and generate engagement. Our rich media formats capture attention and call to action, the performance of which you can analyze in real time. Technology by itself is impersonal and opaque. It is closed off. We open it up to people, making it accessible and transparent. In a world of black boxes, we are an open box. These are our superpowers. None of this would be possible without creatividad, one of our most important superpowers. We arouse curiosity. We connect with emotions. We touch Latino hearts.
Ay, sazón. With that, I bring you Juan Miguel Lapido, who is our Global Chief Creative Officer at Sun Media.
Hello, everyone. It's great to be here. I am a bit nervous. Not little, a lot, a lot nervous. Okay. But my name is Juan Miguel. I am the Chief Creative Officer in Sun Media. And in my previous role was in Condé Nast, always in creativity. I need a presentation, okay? Today I would love to talk about creativity because we are passionate about creativity. Creativity improves the results of our work. It makes digital advertising experiences more beautiful. What I mean by beauty isn't only aesthetics. It also improves people's lives through user experience, usefulness, and relevance. As creators and communicators, we have a big challenge now. Because today, we cannot buy people's attention. We need to earn it to connect with them. Today, creativity is the superpower that we need if you want to reach with them. People demand honest, useful, and relevant content, and then creativity is the best ally for us. To come up with this kind of ideas that I need, I follow a recipe which has 3 ingredients. Firstly, creativity is what surrounds us. It can be anything. You can find it everywhere. It's that kind of differences like lifestyle, the music we listen to, the culture we consume, or even our personal experiences. Secondly, creativity has to be daring. It's when you leave the comfort zone, breaking the monotony, and not falling into habits. And the last part is creativity is technology. Technology is the natural ally of creativity. With technology, we make it real, we give a voice, we make credible. And two, I would like to talk about creativity is beauty elevated to its maximum expression. But let me give you an example about creative strategy. We have an agreement in Spain with IPG and Amazon Prime in an always-on campaign agreement about all the releases of its movies and series. But how do we do it? In this case, Prime seeks to inform, entertain, and motivate the user to discover inspiring content. But what is our strategy consists in creating different rich media and interactive formats, quizzes, different gaming solutions with video, in which the user can discover and you can impact with this kind of inspiring content. With this kind of format, we can redirect to a landing page or maybe a microsites. And last, I'm going to talk about the evolution of the future of creativity. We continue to move forward together with the best talent, co-creating with brands and agencies to create and develop more creative digital experiences relying on the latest advances. For example, imagine Mexico City in the future, the color, the sounds, the smells, the dancing, what you can do, what you can touch, the vibrancy. These kind of things, it could be possible if you use augmented reality. This is the case that we created for our client, Johnny Walker. We created this experience in this technology because we imagine Mexico City in the future. And then now we can do this. In this case, we created a solution, a digital format that you can see here, which the user, by scrolling, can discover, could extend this experience surround them. In this case, this is a screen video that I made 2 days ago in the airport. And then you can discover this universe around you and experiment about the advertising and this kind of augmented reality solutions. Okay, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Questions?
Any audience? Okay.
Great example with Johnny Walker and what you did there. I was wondering whether it's Steven or if there's a good example of like a general market brand that got it right with Hispanics that you've seen, not necessarily like a client, but anything you've seen in market that you feel.
I would say there's 2 examples that I've seen that are definitely amazing. Shout out to Pepsi. I mean, they did it with Bad Bunny and their Spanglish play in summer. Perfect example. Shout out to AT&T too. If you look at their Mother's Day campaign or Father's Day campaign, you can see that they've introduced culture in a very seamless manner. Cuando dice la vieja, la jefa, it's very seamless. That's a general market play. But that's when you can see that the culture strategy is on point. The agency working behind that, it's on point. And these are brands that know culture.
Miller Coors. So they did their partnership with J Balvin. And what they challenged us on specifically was how do we go outside of Spanish language, which really even drives more the relevance of contextual advertising in terms of how do we reach Latinos outside of just traditional endemic platforms. So I definitely, that's one of the examples that come to mind. I think Comcast has done a great job as well in terms of reaching Latinos across the spectrum and acculturation levels. So yeah.
Any more questions? I haven't been here in 12 years.
What's going on? My name is Julian from AdTheorent. We are a machine learning and AI-powered programmatic ad platform. So my question is for the whole panel, really. So I know, brand leaders are always looking for like finite data points, right, that they want to activate against, and like that's where they're looking for their ROI. But for, I guess, Steven and the Publicis team, as well as you guys, culture is something that's really vague, right, and nebulous and changes from, Mexican culture is very different than Venezuelan culture is very different than Uruguayan culture. So what are some finite data points that you guys use, like when you're putting it into kind of like an Excel spreadsheet? Because culture is hard to put into an Excel spreadsheet, right? You need thousands of lines and columns. So like what are some of the data points that you guys look at when you're analyzing culture from an...
Do you want to go first?
Yeah, I can. I think it's first education, right? So the client has to be educated. And as I mentioned, from a KPI perspective, we have to have a clear understanding. And measurement has to start at the beginning. If you don't start with measurement and education, you're not, it's only gonna prove you. The worst thing you can do in this space is not have the right KPIs, because then if there's difference between the general market and Hispanic, they'll say they tested it and then they'll never come back to the marketplace. So what type of data? That's, it's ensuring that you have a right understanding of the audience that you're going after and what the gap is, because you can't compare it to something else if there's not that understanding. So
if I may add to that, from our perspective, when you focus on contextual technology, you're focused on the strategy. You're focused to understand the consumer, the mindset, no different than any other campaign. Once you understand that, you look into your research, into your social, into your search to understand mindset. After that, then you actually create a contextual culture strategy, focus on that insights, and then you hit it, and then you start testing. Ron.
Hey.
I love the last questions. La última pregunta, ¿eh? El jefe dice que la última, ya. That's it.
So great job, by the way. Great presentation, great panel discussion.
Dale.
So I think we all get it. Culture relevance works. Would love for you all to address the fear factor.
The fear factor?
The fear factor that's associated with it. And what I mean by that is, what if I get it wrong? And I just insulted a bunch of people. You look at the backlash from Target, Bud Light, and a few other campaigns, but
good point.
That's.
I think, so this was a very difficult question back in 2020, right? When we were coming out of all this cultural uprising and whatnot. And if you lead with authenticity, right, and admit your mistakes, that's how people are going to come back to a brand. I think those are very specific challenges and let's be honest, the world is the most divisive, in my opinion. We're in the most divisive state right now that I've ever been in. And I'm old, so, that I've been in. But I do think it's owning up to the mistake and being able, understanding what the corporation's values are and bringing that forward will help alienate, not alienate, but align with how your brand positioning should be. So I think it's admitting it where you fail, right? What are those stumbling blocks?
Agreed. I also think that, Ron, to your point, I think it's about creating a solution also where you have an educated understanding of how much you can fail, right? Like how much can we expose ourselves? So I would say, let's test, let's do it educated manner, and let's make sure the client is learning from this, because if this is gonna be about results, anybody who's done here marketing innovation knows that a lot of things get broken and you don't get a lot from it. You get insights, you get testing, and you get better after that. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Steven. Thank you, Luis. Thank you, Juan Miguel, for coming all the way from Spain. We will, my team, recap all this information and provide an exclusive recap. We ask you that you fill out the post-event survey, because we would love to hear in terms of your feedback, and we actually are also introducing some an ad barometer, which we're introducing, so some data, and we're also asking some questions for a special soccer marketing survey and report, we're doing next year. And for the Latin American audience, we're asking some questions about the e-commerce marketing, the state of e-commerce marketing there. So you'll be getting this after the event, and you'll get all the photos and etc. Now, very important, we have this Marketing in 2024 spotlight on brand growth opportunities, where we'll have two major brands in very different sectors, and that's the beauty. We will get some cross-sector perspectives, and how they make the most out of the growth of the multicultural marketing. As we say, there's it's not so much about multicultural marketing, it is marketing in multicultural America. I think that's a fact that many of us in this room know, but still seems to have to be repeated, right? So I'd like to introduce Alejandro Solorio, Director of Audience Planning and Strategy at Comcast.
Well, hello everyone. Very excited to be here. This panel is I'm really excited about the panel and the people we have. Nikki and Wilson are we talking with them, learning their experience. It just makes me very excited about having them and the right way. So while you come here and we can introduce you better. So we want to talk about one of my favorite subjects, like strategy, brand, and then planning, and what it means, trying to think what it means for not only next year, but further and beyond that. And I can see here. Welcome. Oh, sure. There you go.
How we mess up all the... Don't start with 5.
Thank you. Let's start with question number 24. And well, let me just very quick introduction, the bios. I want to make sure that I don't change anything. And so, for that as well. So we start with Nikki Heckles. She has 20 years of experience at Diageo, is the Vice President for Smirnoff Global. Nikki is responsible for leading a global team that defines and implements the marketing strategy for the world's #1 vodka brand. Nikki has a reputation as a leader who embraces diversity and inclusion, including building teams who have diversity of thought, backgrounds, and experience. She has created activations that have transformed consumer perceptions and driven brand advocacy across many brands, including Crown Royal, Kettle One, and Baileys. Pretty sure some of you know those very well.
I'd hope so.
In her current role, Nikki drives performance by refreshing Smirnoff's vibrant positioning and successfully leading the role out of the latest global platform, We Do We. Did I say it right?
Yes.
It's We Do We,
Yes.
Right? The brand's biggest creative shift in more than a decade. The latest work with inclusivity is at heart, reflects Nikki's commitment to positively contributing to society with a brand that not only delivers a message for diversity and inclusion, but acts upon it. So welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Welcome. Well, now we go with Wilson Santiago. Wilson has done marketing, multicultural marketing for the last 20 years. He has been working in executive sales, non-for-profit, and marketing strategy roles that support minorities with different types of financing. Born and raised in Puerto Rico, Wilson has degrees in marketing, human resources, and a minor in development of new business from the University of Puerto Rico in Mayagüez, in el campus de Mayagüez. In 2018, Wilson created the first multicultural role inside of Quicken Loans / Rocket mortgage marketing team. Since then, he has been leading the Hispanic marketing strategy, creating diverse, inclusive, and culturally relevant messaging for the Hispanic audience. Wilson helps Rocket, and then I shift to this one, continue to connect authentically with diverse audiences while growing its diverse business portfolios. Last year, Wilson was recognized by Hispanic Ad as a 2022 Hispanic market thought leader. So welcome and congratulations.
Thank you, thank you. So happy to be here and just listen to so many accents when we're speaking English. You know, makes me feel home. So thank you.
That's great. I'm gonna get rid of this and then read. But okay, perfect. So let's see if I do this right. Maybe not. Oh, that's why it's covered. Which one?
Now we should see the kickoff.
Oh, there you go. Perfect. So we wanted to have some facts to share on challenges and opportunities to set up the conversation. The first one you see here is one that we most know, we live every day and know is part of what we're here. The second is interesting because I wasn't aware of that specific number for that specific age that most of the U.S. Population under 35 is already multicultural. We have that at different numbers, but that's very interesting. A lot of opportunities, the prime age for a lot of consumers. If I'm not mistaken, 33 or 35% change this year is the average age of a new first-time home buyer. So that tells a lot of how important that age is. I will say it's also important for other industries, and we'll see more detail on that. The other fact that is very interesting is that in 2021, there were more than 13 million mortgage transactions, both purchases and refinance in the mortgage industry. But only 6% were from Latinos or Hispanics. You're talking about the segment that drives more of the house formation in the US, and still only 6%, right? So that's very interesting, and a big challenge as well. So with that, let's go to the questions. The first question, Nikki, is for you. With multicultural consumers comprising nearly half of millennials, what strategies is Smirnoff implementing to uphold its cultural relevancy and ensure the growth, especially with such a complicated year economically and the political side as well in 2024?
Yeah, yep. Can you hear me okay? I mean, I just think it's great news for all of us, and it's an exciting opportunity that we're living in a very diverse, multicultural America. I love that. And I can say, particularly as I'm here representing Smirnoff Vodka, a really exciting time for us because we've always been a brand that's about inclusion and inclusivity. And so it's the perfect time for, we're the number one vodka in the world. That's a lot of people who drink vodka, and Smirnoff in particular, on a regular basis. So, being that welcoming brand, being a brand for everyone, that is what we're about in this very exciting time. And I'd say you're asking about strategies. I think there's probably two key approaches I wanted to touch on. The first one is about being a brand driven by purpose. I really believe in purpose-driven marketing. And, what we're believing in here with Smirnoff is that the world is a brighter place when everyone comes together. So inclusivity really at the heart of the brand. And with that, we have just created a global transformation. It's a new platform called We Do We. Thank you, you said that perfectly before. Which is about celebrating the power of the collective and everyone coming together. And it's so important that everybody is individual, but the magic that happens when you come together just is unbelievable. So it's vibrant, it's fresh, it's a vibe, it's everything that you would hope, for this generation and this extremely bright future that we're all holding on to. I think it worked really well. The second thing to say is, I work in a global capacity, which is I'm very lucky and privileged to be in that. But we also have we've built this to be flexible so that in every country and in every culture, there's the freedom to play and adapt. And, we live in a digital world, so borderless. And when I look and see our work and our beliefs show up across the world in different markets, but the representation, the diversity, the local cultures coming through, in essence, the brand becomes so much more diverse, and it really does feel like a brighter world. And then the second area I'll talk about is product innovation and recognizing the different tastes and the different products that we can create. A good example of that is a spicy tamarind variant. It's a new flavor, but it's also a sensation of an experience when you're drinking it. And it came from Mexico. It was developed in Mexico, looking at the local culture, the local tastes. Quickly came into the US because we know how prevalent that the culture and the taste and the ingredients are all. And now it's about to launch in 10 markets across the world in the next 6 months because of the appreciation of the Mexican culture. And I just think it's another really good example of how at this time, shared values, but also shared taste, shared appreciations for different cultures is coming out. But none of this would be possible, I think, without having a team of diverse thinkers. And thank you for saying that before, because we've purposefully spent a lot of time. We're a small team, but we're actually, we cover 5 of the 7 continents of the world in our team, because we very deliberately tried to make that part of who we are, and I think it's resulted in better thinking and better work.
That's great. Purpose, authenticity, and taking opportunities for new markets where something is successful and you go and try it and test it, and it's going to be now beyond North America, right? In other countries. That's amazing. Thank you. Now we go, Wilson, with you. Given that Hispanics represent 1 in 4 millennials and Gen Z, yet account only for 6% of those mortgage applications that we were talking before about. And on top of it, especially on your business, they are Hispanics, multicultural. Hispanics is always part of it, important part of it, are one of the engines behind the growth of majority cities. What are the challenges preventing this segment from achieving homeownership, and what strategies are you implementing to address that?
So first of all, with that stat that we have here, looks small, but if Hispanics were not purchasing in the United States homes, the homeownership growth of the US would be negative. Non-Hispanic whites are buying less home and renting more. The growth is coming from the multicultural segment. So even though that percentage looks small, for the last 10 years, once again, if Hispanics were not buying homes, the homeownership growth of the US will be negative. So 5 to 6 years ago, we started doing research, as you were saying earlier, right? I started working with Rocket Mortgage as a Spanish-speaking banker, and I noticed when clients were calling in, they did not know who Quicken Loans at that point was, right? It made it more difficult for me to sell them a mortgage when they were thinking I was lending them personal loans. So I took it to myself to send an email to the CEO and say, hey, I don't know if this is the right way to talk to you, being the CEO, but we're losing a lot of opportunity with the Hispanic audience. I am blessed that the company is open. Our company is open for everyone to communicate with CMO, CEO. A month later, we had created the first multicultural position in the company, and I started doing some research on how to tackle and support Hispanics, right? It took us some time because we wanted to do it the right way. Actually answering the question that was asked before on the last conversation, the fear, how you tackle the fear, you tackle it working with the right partners. So that's what we did. We look for the right partners on the creative side. We look for the right partners on the media side, people who had the experience working with Hispanics to make sure that when we put something out there, right, it was not just only testing, but that we had the right insights and data to show that we were doing the right thing, right? And of course, coming from a company that's up north in Detroit, right, it was really important for us to show our leadership that we were doing the right thing. The growth of the multicultural segment as a whole, all of the cultures have their different challenges, right? Hispanics come from different countries that they're scared from their financial institutions when they get here. So many of them save their money in their houses, even though they work a lot. Many of Hispanics are also business owners. So it's one of the nation's biggest group that are business owners. African American do not have generational wealth, right? It has been for years and decades so difficult for them to gain generational wealth that's one of the biggest challenges for them too. Then you have the segment of AAPI that their growth is coming from immigration, right? Even though many of them come knowing English, when you have first and second generations that are moving, they feel more comfortable talking about their finances in their native language. So all of those challenges, right, it's like a melting pot for us, and we need to figure it out and make sure that when we talk to those different audiences, we're not only doing it in a culturally respectful way, but when they come to us, we have the right resources to support them, right? Financial education, if you're not ready to purchase right now, helping you in the process to get you with the right partner on the real estate side to make sure that you feel comfortable when you have someone next to you looking for a home. So at Rocket, since the last 5 years, we've been building internal teams that are Spanish speakers, not only in the mortgage side, but also in the servicing side. We love giving loans, but we love more helping our clients stay in their homes, right? And in these difficult times, you need to have someone that can help you in the process. If you lost your job, you can't make your payments, you wanna talk to someone that speaks your language to make sure that you're doing the right decision. So we have been doing that for the last 5 years. We're growing internally. We have one of our call centers in Arizona that helps us a lot because of the amount of population in Arizona of Hispanics. And we are preparing for the future, right? We have been creating diverse advertisement. We have a great partner in Marca, Miami that help us with that. And when we create our content specifically for the Hispanic, right? I'm not just doing it in Spanish. If I'm doing a commercial, I'm recording that same day at the shoot, the commercial in English and in Spanish. I'm not putting voice over the commercial that is in Spanish. I'm actually shooting it twice to make sure that it's authentic, that people can recognize that we're putting that extra effort on in it, making sure that we have diverse Hispanics, women with curly hair, Afro-Latinas, darker, lighter skin Hispanics, right? Making sure that when we do it in English, those small words that we say, mama, abuela, those reactions are there. So when the audience sees the commercial, TV, digital, wherever they can, they're just looking at their cell phone, and when they hear it, they raise their eyes to see what's happening, right? That's our intention. We want to make sure that we're relevant. We want to make sure that we are supporting the audience, but we want to make sure that we're doing it in a culturally relevant way, because once again, if you don't do it right, you're going to go behind 5 to 10 years. You can't miss. So that's why you need the right partners in the process.
That's great, thank you. I take two things that you said I really like. One is your addition to the how to tackle the fear. And I will make a comment on that. You need leaders who believe in it, the CEO who listened to the leader who wanted to say, we can do this as you, and make sure that your voice is here. And the other is, from experience, is having the conversations. When you have a shot to do multicultural, sometimes feels like you only have one shot. Other areas of the company sometimes have more, but it feels like that at least. So having the conversations about what are your expectations, yours and the leadership, how you can learn if it goes one way or the other, and what the next steps are, helps you to make sure that you have more than one shot, or at least do the most for it. So that's just another comment that I have. And that's
Alejandro, and this is a constant learning for leaders, right? We are experts here in the multicultural space, but for our leaders, it's a day-to-day learning experience, right? They have not been influenced by the culture, right? So we have to be constantly, teaching them, sharing them all the data that's out there. It's tough. We get tired. We said, again, man, I have to tell you the same thing again I told you last month. But it's necessary because they're not influenced by our cultures. Regardless, it's African American, AAPI, or Hispanics, right? They are not influenced by it, right? And we, as the experts in the market, but also being part of the cultures, have to continuously educate to make sure that they feel comfortable to say, oh man, they know what they're saying, Let's invest.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Well, we have one more question before we go to questions from the public here and online or on the virtual part of the session and this is for both of you. Maybe we'll start with you, Nikki. As we look into 2024, what did you believe will be the single most significant challenge or opportunity that your brand or in your industry, regardless multicultural and diverse markets, will encounter?
Yeah. I was just sitting here thinking about just what you were saying and the daily challenge of keeping the good fight going in a very positive way. But I think that's a big question that has, I think, quite a big answer, just in terms of, again, I'll keep coming back to this term like multicultural America, because as we look at a lot of our insights and we continue to sort of follow the cultural conversation, one thing that's really struck us is, despite the fact that this is probably the most diverse time that we're living in, and there is more multicultural, and there are a huge amount of ways to connect, I think there's just a big realization, and it's quite frightening to think that we're going through what we're kind of coining the joy recession, where people are feeling more disconnected than ever. And so you have this opportunity and this amazing melting pot, and curiously we can lean into that, but at the same time people are kind of pulling back. And a big part of our role is, how do we ignite that social connection so that people can come together? I think a lot of the stats you'll see are so many more lost friendships, just people just are out less with each other, or you're working online, learning online, staying online all the time. So trying to bring back the idea of when you have that human connection, and you have that, when you're fueling that socializing, then that's a big part of what I think probably our biggest opportunity and our biggest challenge, because it's not easy to fuel that, but at the same time we have a responsibility to do that. And as a product that can bring people together, I think that's just a really good opportunity when we think about embracing the idea of diversity and shared connections.
It seems like both share the same DNA, the concept and the multicultural. So
exactly.
Yeah. Just on the financial world, we all know where this finances are right now. The Fed continues increasing the interest rate, and that causes a little bit of fear around new home buyers. But we don't stop buying. If we need a home, we need a home. Our biggest challenge is availability of properties, right? And think about that. A company that its main business is refinance or home loan purchase, right? If there's no homes available, there's no mortgages. If the interest rates are high, there's no refinance, right? how do we tackle those challenges is just building relationships. We need to be continuously being in front of our clients to be top of mind all the time. Because when things get better, they're gonna call the person that has continuously been supporting them, rather it's with financial education or just letting them know what's going on in the industry, right? Having that relationship with realtors, making sure that they continue putting those clients in a good position. And that's where we're heading. We're making sure that we have the right products and services for our clients, knowing what's happening in the industry. We just want to put our clients first always.
That's great, thanks. Now, I think you will go to one question that we got previously from one of the virtual attendees. And this is from Moises Leiferman, Senior Manager of Omnichannel at Perefiti Van Melle. Often in the brand marketer community, it's said, let's do an influencer campaign and catch a solution. What is the best way to assess influencer effectiveness, and what KPIs will you use? Is engagement really a driver of purchase intention?
Yes, 100% engagement is. And yeah, I really believe in influencer as part of your total mix. I think that having a megaphone to really deliver the messages of what the brand believes is really important. I think it only works, of course, as we all know, if there's a shared value and both the endorser, the influencer have that same sort of mission in mind as the brand, and then together you could do some great things. I think that can be exponential impact when you, and pretty quickly, can do a good partnership. I think there's lots of ways to measure it, and maybe there's a little bit more art than science in some cases, but I think that's okay because you can feel it, and I think it's a really good part of the mix.
Yeah, our last campaign called Only with Rocket, Solo con Rocket, we actually created our commercials around 3 influencers in the general audience, Hispanic, and the African American space. We look for influencers that related with those groups to build up our campaign. Of course, it's not only building the creative, you have to make sure that you have the right support, a 360 approach, especially with the influencers. And the thing is, right, people trust today influencers more than 100 years company. It's the truth, right? Because you're constantly being fed with all of their content, and they're walking around their homes, they're walking around New York and telling their life, and you get related to those people, right? So, it's part of the changing world in the media and advertisement world. Content creators right now is one of the top views in the US. So we truly believe that we need to continue supporting influencers and making sure that you partner with the right partners on that side.
Okay, thanks both. We have time for just one more question here from the people in the live version of it. If not, we have one question from the virtual attendees. Any questions? Oh, okay, let me see. To Wilson. How do you get in front of your clients? Do you have a media agency? By Anonymous.
Yes, we have a great media agency. We partner right now with Universal McCann as our media agency. On the creative side, I said before, Mark and Miami, right? Both have teams that are specialized in multicultural audiences. And I gotta be honest, when I started this business, I didn't feel comfortable with the first team, and we said, hey, I need people that truly understand the multicultural business, and yeah, it's been great. We've been doing success growth since I started here. We have had almost a 300% growth, specifically with the Hispanic audience. Just making sure that we're talking to that audience in a cultural way. But once again, my team is a 2-people team.
So
me and my
Wilson,
leader.
anything you learned you didn't know?
Oh, a lot, right? You know, the agencies came with the recommendation, hey, let's do English and Spanish. The agencies help us when we were in front of leaders talking about, hey, you know, we want to put an Afro-Latina. Oh, why are you putting an African-American in a Hispanic spot? Well, because 500 years ago we were invaded, blah, 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 you know. And the agencies backed us up with all of the data and knowledge that they had. So I've learned a lot, we've learned a lot as a company, and we are just looking to continue growing on this space.
Well, thank you. See, honored to be with these two amazing panelists, all the people here, so thank you. And yeah, it's great.
Much for this great moderation. Wilson, you rocked like Rocket Mortgage, and and Nicola was great too. Yeah, thanks. So just a quick intro about our next year. Last year we had the Marketing Multicultural America Summit in LA. We're gonna have it in New York City this year, March 5. April 11, we'll have Portada Live in Mexico City and in virtual format. So many of you marketers are gonna be invited to the virtual format. The guys who are here now. You're gonna get to save the date. You're gonna love it. I think so. You will like it. It's gonna be a way to continue the conversation and to really get your input. We're all about expressing what the industry needs, what different perspectives there are, and so on. In Q2, we will go with the e-commerce marketing report in Latin America, and then we're also looking forward to the insights report on soccer marketing in the US. That's such an example of how multicultural America will bring major changes in sports and soccer in particular, right? And then next year, September 19, here in New York City, you're all invited. The next one, just so you know, so we have portada-online.com where we interact with you on a daily basis. We just did a great article of Janina, who is in the room. And we also have these new formats for LinkedIn distribution. So we're very excited. And what I really like is this, actually, the content. I love the content in events, but it has its big opportunities and some challenges. Now, for our virtual audience, so you know, you're gonna now do the one-on-one meetings. Look into your Zoom link and do those. And in person here in New York, we have a great program of 5 different workshops, which you can see here on the screen. You will actually, most of you will have the workshop you're allocated to on the back of your agenda, right? Because we already asked you. And those of you who have not, there's a great one with Marcelo Rodriguez, my good friend from Incmactic. He's gonna do one on marketing and artificial intelligence in marketing. So that they set up the room. We will first have a quick break, and then you'll be guided by my team to your different workshops. 3 of them are gonna be in this room, and workshop 1 is gonna be in the room where the bar is, and 5 in the office here. But let's first have a few drinks and stretch our legs, perhaps. Yeah. Thank you.